I wasn't supposed to be home that night. The plan was simple: wrap up the conference in St. Louis, stay the extra night, then fly back in the morning. But the last meeting wrapped earlier than expected, and I figured, why not surprise Carol? After all, it had been a long week and I missed her. The house was quiet when I came in. Her car was in the driveway, the lights on in the living room. For a second, I felt that little flutter in my chest, the excitement of catching someone off guard with something good. I walked into the kitchen to find her laptop open on the table. I don't know what made me glance at the screen. Maybe it was the ding of a new email, maybe just habit. But there it was, a hotel reservation confirmation. 2 guests. Check-in tomorrow. Downtown. Booked under the name E. Wallace. I stared at it for a second, thinking maybe it was a work trip. She handled logistics for her firm sometimes. But I didn't recognize the name. Carol came in just then, holding a wine glass. She froze when she saw me, then quickly recovered. Jason, what are you doing here? I thought your flight was tomorrow. It was. But I finished early. Wanted to surprise you. I tried to keep my voice steady. What's the hotel booking for? Her face didn't flinch. She walked over, closed the laptop with one hand and smiled. Oh, that's nothing. It's for Eric, one of the new hires at work. His original hotel messed up his booking and I offered to help rebook something through our system. It's under my name because I used our corporate card. I nodded slowly, pretending like that made perfect sense. Eric Wallace? Yeah. Why? Just curious. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. You're cute when you're suspicious. That night she cooked. A candlelit dinner, red wine, the whole 9 yards. She even played the playlist we used on our anniversary road trip. And I played along, smiled, asked about her day, clinked glasses. But something felt wrong. She talked too much. Offered too many details. Kept touching her phone under the table. When I went to grab dessert plates, I caught her switching tabs back on her laptop. She'd never been a good liar. Not really. I lay in bed that night beside her, staring at the ceiling, her breath steady and calm next to me. And for the first time in years, I couldn't sleep, not because I was worried. Because I already knew something wasn't right. After that night, something inside me wouldn't settle. I'd like to say it was intuition, but it was more like the slow unraveling of a tightly wound thread I'd been ignoring for too long. Carol went on with her usual routines, maybe even a little more attentive than before, like she was trying to rebalance some invisible scale. But now every gesture felt like theater. I started noticing things I brushed off before. The little shifts. How often she used to leave her phone on the kitchen counter when we were together, now it was always in her pocket or face down. Sometimes it'd buzz and she wouldn't even glance at it, just turn it on silent. I remember thinking, that's new. She started spending more time in the bathroom with her laptop. At first, I thought it was just stress, maybe she needed space. We'd both been busy, right? But eventually I realized, who brings their laptop to the bathroom that often? And for that long? There was this one night I can't stop replaying. I had gotten home from work a little early. Her car was already in the driveway, which was unusual. I walked in and I swear she jumped when she heard the door. She slammed the lid of her laptop shut like a teenager caught watching something they shouldn't. When I asked what she was doing, she just laughed and said, "Oh, just work stuff. You wouldn't be interested." And maybe I wouldn't have been if she hadn't said it like that. If she hadn't looked like a deer caught in headlights. I kept pretending not to notice. Or I tried to. We'd always made time for anniversaries, even the minor ones. It was our thing. First date anniversary. The day we moved into the house. Those little checkpoints that made the years feel like progress, not just time passing. But this year? She forgot our wedding anniversary. Not just forgot, she didn't mention it at all. I waited the whole day, thinking maybe she had something planned for dinner. But nothing. That night, when I asked if she wanted to order in, she blinked at me like I'd asked about some stranger's birthday. Sure, whatever you want, she said. It wasn't just the missed days. It was the way her excuses started to loop. One day she'd say she had a meeting until 7 p.m., but she'd show up at 8:30. Another time she said she had to work late because of a deadline, but I saw on her Instagram a story she forgot to hide from me that she was at some rooftop bar with her coworkers. She claimed she just stopped by for a quick drink, but when I checked the timestamp, the story had been posted during the time she was supposedly still at the office. I started writing things down. Times. Dates. Places she said she'd be. Not because I wanted to catch her, at least, that's what I told myself, but because I needed to know I wasn't going crazy. Gaslighting is subtle and it doesn't come with a label. It's not always screaming fights or blatant lies. Sometimes it's a smile and a gentle tone as someone hands you a version of reality that's just skewed enough to make you doubt your own memory. There was one Saturday afternoon I still think about. I was doing laundry, folding towels, and she was in the kitchen making tea. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She was in the other room. I glanced down instinctively, really, and saw the preview of a message. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was perfect. No name. Just a number. I froze. I could have opened it. I could have taken a screenshot *T, forwarded it to myself, maybe finally had something concrete. But I didn't. I don't know why. Fear, maybe? Or denial. I backed away from the phone like it was radioactive and went back to folding towels like nothing had happened. But the message burned into my brain. And the way she sauntered in a minute later, picked up the phone, glanced at it, and quietly turned off the screen without saying a word, that sealed it. We stopped talking at night. That's how I really knew something was wrong. We used to lie in bed and talk about everything, the neighbors, weird dreams, politics, TV shows we never actually watched. But now when the lights went out, she turned away. Not just rolled over, turned away. Her body curled into itself, facing the wall. Her silence didn't feel tired. It felt final. I tried to convince myself it was just a phase. People grow apart sometimes. Maybe we just needed to reconnect. I booked us a weekend trip, just a little getaway up north, near the lake we used to visit in our 20s. She said she couldn't take the time off. Too much going on at work. When I offered to go alone, she shrugged and said, if you think you need that. She didn't ask me to stay. Didn't even pretend to be disappointed. I started sleeping in later on weekends. Partly because I couldn't fall asleep, partly because I didn't want to face the mornings with her. She would already be out of bed, fully dressed, pretending like she had errands. But more and more, I realized she just didn't want to be around me. There was a coldness in her that didn't used to be there. A detachment. When she looked at me, it felt like she wasn't seeing me at all, just the shape of a man she used to know. I think the worst part was realizing how long it had been like this. How I had ignored it. We always talk about gut feelings, but what people don't tell you is how easy it is to silence them when the alternative is too painful to consider. And yet, once the suspicion crept in, I couldn't unsee it. Her changed routines, her disappearing affection, the fact that she had started humming again, not just humming, but humming songs I didn't recognize. Where did she pick them up? Who had put that melody in her head? It felt like I was living beside a ghost, someone who wore my wife's face but didn't carry her warmth. And I started to feel like a ghost too. I wasn't looking for proof when I found it. I wasn't even thinking about her. I was at work halfway through a Monday that already felt like Friday. One of my coworkers, Jared, was showing me a video from this club downtown, some new place with neon signs and overpriced drinks. We were standing in the break room, coffee in hand, pretending to care about each other's weekends. I laughed politely, half-focused, until something in the video pulled at me. There she was. Carol. I didn't see her right away, but the frame panned left and paused on a couple dancing near the bar. She was pressed up against a man in a black shirt, some guy with thick hair and a cocky smile. His hands were around her waist. Her arms were draped around his neck. They weren't dancing. They were making out. Full on. Her face was tilted in a way I knew too well, the way she leaned when she meant it. I felt my blood run cold. I must have stared too long because Jared nudged me and said, "Oh yeah, it got kinda wild there. Think the guy's name was Wallace or something." My buddy tagged him. Wallace. My stomach dropped. Wallace. The name from the hotel reservation. I hadn't thought about it in a week, but now it hit me like a freight train. All the pieces slammed into place so hard I felt physically dizzy. I mumbled something to Jared and got out of there fast. Back in my office, I closed the door and locked it. I sat down and pulled up social media. Scrolled until I found the post. It had been reshared a few times already. Someone tagged the guy. Evan Wallace. I clicked his profile. Public. There were photos. Not a lot, but enough. One in particular stuck out, him standing outside a boutique hotel, same black shirt, same grin. It was taken the same weekend. Carol said she was working late and needed the house to herself. And then there was one more. A photo of him and Carol. Taken from behind, but I knew her posture. Her hair. Her laugh, even in profile I could tell. They were on a rooftop somewhere. His arm was slung casually across her back. Like it had every right to be there. She wasn't pulling away. She was leaning in. I didn't sleep that night. Carol came home a little late. Not too late to raise alarms, but late enough to count. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek and went straight upstairs. I didn't follow. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone, that video still playing on loop. Rewind. Pause. Replay. Every frame like a knife. The next morning, I printed the picture. Just one. The The still from the video. Her kissing him. I left it in my briefcase and waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for. Some moment, maybe. Some clarity. Came 3 days later. We were sitting in the living room. She was pretending to read. I was pretending to check emails. The silence between us was loud. Too loud. I pulled out the picture, set it on the coffee table between us. She didn't react at first, just kept her eyes on the book. Then she glanced down. Stilled. She picked it up. Her eyes traced it slowly, carefully, like she was examining a bruise. When she finally looked at me, there was no gasp, no denial, just a quiet resignation. I figured you'd see that eventually, she said. No panic, no tears, just those 8 words. I waited. Nothing. That's Evan, she added after a moment, as if I hadn't already figured that out. We've been involved. For a while. That's how she said it. Involved. Like it was a project she joined at work. How long? I asked. She didn't flinch. About 3 months. Maybe a little more. I stared at her. At her face. The one I'd memorized over a decade. It was so familiar and suddenly so far away. I couldn't recognize the version of her sitting there, the one casually confessing like we were talking about a parking ticket. I didn't want it to happen, she said after a beat. But it did. I guess I stopped fighting it. Do you love him? She looked down. I don't know. You don't know? I said, laughing bitterly. You've been sneaking around with him for months, Carol. Lying to my face. Walking into my house with his cologne probably still on your skin. And you don't know. She flinched a little, and for a split second, I thought she might cry. But then she straightened her shoulders and said, I didn't say it was right. I said I don't know. It hit me in that moment. She wasn't going to grovel. She wasn't going to fall apart and beg for forgiveness. She'd already made peace with what she did. She didn't confess because she was sorry. She confessed because she got caught. Were you going to tell me? I asked. No, she said flatly. I didn't know how. Or maybe I didn't want to. I don't know, Jason. I just kept moving forward, thinking I could figure it out later. I nodded slowly. Something cold settled inside me. You're still seeing him? Yes. And if I hadn't found out? I don't know, she said again. And it was the 3rd time those words landed like stones. I guess I was hoping it would resolve itself. I stood up. I'm going to stay at Mike's for a few days, I said. Don't text. Don't call. Don't pretend like we're okay. She didn't say anything. Just sat there, holding the photo like it might change if she stared long enough. I packed a bag and left that night. Drove to Mike's, didn't say much, just asked if I could crash for a while. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer and turned on the game. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Carol. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. Then a second. I didn't mean to hurt you. I stared at the screen. Deleted both. She meant to do what she did. Maybe she didn't mean for me to find out, but she made the choices. And choices have weight. For the first time, I felt something close to clarity. It wasn't about Evan. It wasn't even about the lies. It was the way she looked at me when I showed her that photo. Like it was easier to let me go than to fight for me. And maybe that's what broke me the most. The thing about leaving isn't the act itself. It's what comes after. There's no dramatic soundtrack. No cathartic slam of the door that makes everything final. It's quieter than that. More still. Like drifting out to sea and realizing land is no longer in sight. Not because it disappeared, but because you stopped looking back. The night I moved into Mike's guest room, I didn't unpack. Just set my bag down and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. I didn't cry. Didn't feel angry, at least not in a way that showed. There was just this heavy sort of stillness. Like my body had stopped asking questions my heart couldn't answer. Carol didn't text that night. But the next day, the messages began. Can we talk? Please just call me when you're ready. I'm sorry, Jason. I don't know how to do this. You don't have to disappear. I'm still here, but I was gone not just from the house, but from her orbit. And I wasn't coming back. I didn't respond. I didn't delete the texts either. I let them pile up like snowfall, soft, meaningless, and inevitable. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She just wanted to stop the bleeding. Mike was good about giving me space. He didn't push, didn't ask for the details. He just made sure I had a warm meal and a remote in my hand when I needed it. The kind of quiet support only old friends know how to give. At work, I buried myself in projects. Took on extra meetings. Stayed late when I didn't need to. My coworkers noticed the change, but no one said anything outright. One of them, Nora, left a cup of coffee on my desk with a sticky note that just said hang in there. I nodded when I saw her later. That was enough. I didn't tell anyone about Carol. Not at first. I told myself I needed time, but the truth was simpler. I didn't want to say the words out loud. Because once you do, it's real. Not just a bad dream you're walking through, but something etched into the world. A week passed. Then, too, Carol's messages came slower after that. Less pleading, more ambiguous. Passive regret wrapped in poetic phrases. I've been thinking about how we used to be. I miss the way you made me laugh. I keep hearing that one song you liked. It reminds me of you. It wasn't enough. Not by a long sh*t. She never said I ended it with him. Never said I made a mistake. Not once did she offer me something real. Just vague emotions she threw at me like driftwood, hoping I'd use them to build a raft. I didn't. I focused on the small things. Morning jogs. Grocery runs. Late-night movies I'd already seen. I fixed a leaky faucet in Mike's place that wasn't even bothering him. Rewired his garage opener just because I could. I needed movement. Forward. Away. 3 weeks in, I finally told my parents. I went over on a Sunday pretending it was just a casual visit. My mom made pot roast, my dad was halfway through fixing the old swing set for the grandkids that didn't yet exist. When they asked about Carol, I just said it, we're separating. My mom froze mid-stir. My dad stopped tightening the bolt. There were questions, of course. Not the intrusive kind. The worried kind. The ones that sound like, are you okay? Do you want to talk? Can we do anything? I gave them the gentlest version of the truth. That Carol had been unfaithful. That I'd left. That I didn't know what came next, but I was sure of one thing, I wasn't going back. My mom cried. Quietly. My dad just nodded, the way dads do when they want to fix something but can't. That night, my phone buzzed again. Carol. Saw your mom's Facebook post. I guess the news is out. I didn't want it like this. I stared at the screen for a long time before setting it down. The words meant nothing. I didn't want it like this, as if the story had unfolded without her hand guiding the pen. I started sleeping better after that. Maybe it was the relief of the truth being out. Or maybe it was the silence, that sweet, untouched quiet between me and her where no new lies could live. I didn't block her. I just stopped replying. Ghosting your wife sounds dramatic when you say it out loud, but I wasn't trying to punish her. I was just trying to survive without bleeding. A month went by. She emailed me a Google Doc with thoughts. That's what she titled it, literally just thoughts. It was pages long. A stream of consciousness blend of nostalgia, half-regrets, and philosophical musing about how people drift apart when they don't even notice. I skimmed it. Deleted it. If she needed a journal, she could buy one. Meanwhile, I filed for a temporary mail forwarding address and started looking at apartments. Mike said I could stay as long as I needed and I believed him. But I didn't want to be a guest forever. I needed my own place, somewhere Carol had never stood barefoot by the sink or hummed while unpacking groceries. Eventually, I found a small one-bedroom unit near the river. Nothing fancy. But the floors creaked in a charming way and the morning light came through the windows soft and orange. I signed the lease and moved in the following weekend. The first night there, I lay on the floor staring up at the ceiling. No furniture. Just me, a blanket, and the quiet hum of something new beginning. That same night, she texted again. I heard you moved out. It's real now, huh? Yes, Carol. It's real now. I didn't write that back. But I said it out loud to the ceiling. To the empty room. To the version of her I no longer carried with me. One day, Mike asked, what would you do if she actually apologized? Like, really apologized? I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I think that version of her only exists in theory. He nodded. Said nothing else. It's strange how fast a life can rearrange itself when the scaffolding falls. We used to be Jason and Carol. The kind of couple who planned vacations, argued over paint colors, and texted each other grocery lists. Now we were two people with no claim to each other's mornings. And for once, that didn't make me sad. There's this moment that sticks with me maybe 2 months after I moved out. I was walking home from work and I passed this coffee shop we used to go to. Carol loved their pastries. I stepped inside just on instinct. The guy at the counter didn't recognize me. New staff. New faces. The place had repainted. I ordered a black coffee and sat near the window. And I felt okay. Not great. Not healed. But okay. Sometimes that's the best you can ask for. It had been almost 2 months since I last heard from her when the letter came. No return address. Just my name printed in familiar handwriting across the front. I almost threw it away. Junk mail, I thought, probably another flyer or apology-shaped excuse. But something about the way she wrote Jason stopped me. It was clean. Careful. Not rushed, not messy, not casual. Like she'd practiced. I didn't open it right away. I left it on the kitchen counter for 3 days. Every time I passed it, I felt it watching me. Or maybe it was just my own curiosity boiling under the surface. Eventually, I gave in. I sat at the table with a cup of lukewarm coffee and slowly peeled the envelope open like it might detonate. Inside was a single handwritten letter and a photo. The photo came first. It was of the two of us, taken years ago when we had just moved into the house on East Monroe. We were in the backyard, sweaty and smiling, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and a pile of tangled string lights I never got around to hanging. She was wearing one of my old college hoodies. I was squinting into the sun, arm draped around her shoulder. We looked solid. We looked real. I set the photo down. Then I read the letter. Jason, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't even know if you should. But I had to try. I've spent the last few weeks avoiding every mirror in my life because the moment I see myself clearly, I also see what I've done to you. To us. You were always the constant. That sounds like a cliché, but it's true. You were calm when I spiraled. Steady when I shook. I think I started taking that for granted. Like you'd always be there to catch the pieces no matter how hard I let them fall. I could say I was lonely. I could say I felt disconnected. I could point to all the little cracks and call them reasons. But they weren't. They were excuses. And Evan wasn't a mistake, he was a choice. One I kept making long after I knew it was wrong. I didn't stop because I was afraid if I did, I'd have to face what I'd broken. I knew what it would cost. I just didn't think I'd feel the weight until you were gone. And now I do. Every morning. Every time I walk past your side of the bed or see your shoes still tucked under the bench like they're waiting for you to come back. I'm not writing to beg. I'm not writing to fix it. I know that part is done. I'm writing because silence started to feel like cowardice. And I owe you more than that. I owe you honesty. I owe you acknowledgement. I owe you the truth. You didn't deserve any of this, Jason. You didn't fail. You didn't neglect me. You were present and kind and good. And I took all of that and used it like a safety net while I fell for someone else. But the truth is, he wasn't better. He was just different. And that difference made me feel something I mistook for being alive. It wasn't real. It was adrenaline, not affection. Distraction, not connection. It faded fast. As those things always do. I think I knew it would end. I just didn't expect you to. I've been going to therapy. Not because I think it'll win you back, but because I finally realized I need to face myself without hiding behind you. You were never supposed to be my mirror, Jason. You were supposed to be my partner. And I'm sorry I forgot the difference. I hope one day you can remember us with some trace of warmth. I hope the memory of me isn't entirely bitter. And I hope more than anything that you find peace. You deserve someone who never makes you question your worth. I couldn't be that. But I do still believe someone can. Take care of yourself. Carol. I sat there for a long time after finishing the letter. It didn't make me cry. It didn't make me angry. It just made me feel still. I read it again, slower the second time. I underlined nothing, folded nothing, marked nothing. Just let it wash over me the way you let rain hit your windshield when you're too tired to turn the wipers on. The strange part? It felt honest. It didn't read like a performance. It didn't feel like manipulation. It was confessional, almost surgical in how it broke down her flaws. And that scared me because a small part of me wanted to believe it. But I couldn't. Because honesty doesn't unbreak what's already been dropped. And regret doesn't rebuild trust. It just wraps the wreckage in ribbon. I tucked the letter back into the envelope and slid the photo into a drawer I hadn't opened in weeks. The one where I used to keep receipts, keys, spare batteries, now home to old echoes and tangled string lights that never found a place. That night, I walked down to the lake behind my building. It was quiet. The air had that sharp, late autumn chill that finds its way through your coat and into your spine. I sat on the bench facing the water and watched a couple walk by, hand in hand. They looked young. New. I thought about the photo. The letter. The quiet between Carol and me that now stretched wider than any argument we ever had. And for the first time since I left, I didn't feel like I was running anymore. I felt steady. Not healed. Not whole. But steady. Later that week, I got another message from her. Just one. Thank you for reading the letter. I know you did. I won't reach out again. I just wanted you to know that I meant every word. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't care, but because I did. And I knew replying would undo the quiet I'd earned. Forgiveness is a strange thing. People think it's a door you walk through with the person who wronged you. But sometimes it's a bench by the water, alone, where you learn to breathe again. That's what the letter gave me. Not closure. But we agreed to meet at a park halfway between her place and mine. Neutral ground. Public enough that nothing dramatic could happen. I arrived early, sat on a bench near the fountain. It was cold. Not freezing, but the kind of chill that made you keep your hands in your pockets and your thoughts close. Carol arrived 10 minutes late. She looked thinner. Tired. Still beautiful in that easy way she always was, but different now. Dimmed. She sat beside me, leaving a safe space between us. Thanks for coming, she said. I nodded. You said you wanted to talk. She launched into a speech rehearsed clearly. Therapy speak. Owning her actions, recognizing patterns, expressing remorse. She talked about rebuilding. About how she was working on herself and that, maybe in time, we could rebuild too. But while she spoke, I realized I wasn't feeling what she hoped I'd feel. I wasn't moved. I wasn't even angry. I just felt removed. Like I was listening to a stranger explain the ending of a book I used to love. I'm willing to start over, she said finally, eyes searching mine. I still love you, Jason.